Right. Good morning, everyone. We'll get started. Okay, welcome back to another week of the trading dose. Hey, so again, for those of you who are very new to this, welcome. What we do is every week from Tuesday to Thursday, we'll come in, spend about 15 to 20 minutes on average each session to walk you through to show you, right? And of course, walk you through the process of intraday trading. Again, intraday trading is not for everyone. It's more short term. Okay, but at the same time, you need to be consistent. That's why, the whole process of me here every week between Tuesday and Thursday coming in to do this to show you that if you're really serious and committed to this journey, you need to be consistent. Okay, and of course, not every day, every week you're gonna have trades, or I would say even every day or every week you're gonna have like huge profits. Okay, sometimes winning, sometimes you get some losses. Okay, so for last week, actually we don't have a lot of trade, right? Last week we were only involved in like the dollar yen. Okay, and the trade didn't really play out, right? So it was a negative 10 pips. On this trade here, of course, it's about 9, and then just round out a little bit, it's negative 10. Okay, so I'm keeping everything here. I think you should probably saw the post yesterday, or I did on my Facebook page as well, where I share with you the trade of the week for that previous one, right? So last week there were only one trade, which is dollar yen, and it was a losing one. Okay, so again, it's all part of trading. Okay, so I'm over here really wanting to show you what's real, what's authentic. Okay, it's not always just about winning. Okay, so today is the 9th of February. Okay, and of course we're in week 6. So week 5 we were negative 10. Okay, so week 6, which is the current week, we'll reset again on this to show you how the progress is. All right, so let's get started. Okay, we'll go through euro dollar first. Okay, now again, quick one over here to give you a bigger picture. Okay, this week here, my bias on the dollar is weakening. Okay, which is a bearish bias, which means that likely if you're looking at the majors, which is what we do over here, okay, we'll be looking for short opportunities in the dollar. Majors will be looking to buy most of these pairs. Okay, so first up, we do have the euro dollar. Okay, so you can see on the, let me bring in that. Okay, you can see on the 1 hour time frame. Okay, you have a V-shaped formation, which means that we have a strong rejection over here, at least from a 1 hour point of view. So we are potentially looking for a buy setup. Okay, but one thing you also want to take note of is that as price is making a new kind of like smaller new high, you do realize that right now we do have a divergence forming in the RSI, right? So what does this mean? Is just simply that there's a high possibility that the price might come back down first. Okay, and the move to the upside might not be authentic or might not be real. Okay, again, it's not about 100%, it's probability. Okay, so when I see this, I will be a little bit patient. I wouldn't want to jump into any breakout trade as of now. Okay, one way to consider, of course, is to pull in our fips and wait for a potential retracement. Okay, but at this very moment, I think it's a little bit too early to do that. So I'll leave this here. Okay, I think today there's not much of a potential trade that we can look for on euro dollar. Okay, next up on the list is pound dollar. Okay, so you can see it's indeed moving up on the 4 hour time frame. Is again testing this high. It has been a few times this has come up over here, but so far it has yet to break off pretty convincingly. Okay, and every time, if you take a look at the RSI, right, every time it comes up, it seems like it's less and less in terms of its momentum. It's lower. Okay, from an RSI point of view. So again, I wouldn't be too aggressive in looking for buy, but of course right now here there's no setup at the same time, right? So same thing as euro dollar, I'm just gonna leave it here, and nothing really much going on the pound dollar, right? Next up is the Aussie dollar. Okay, so Aussie dollar on a 1 hour time frame, you can see this is clear. Okay, you do have a very obvious uptrend, at least on a 1 hour time frame. Okay, you have a higher high, higher low. Okay, so whenever you see a four swings like that, higher high, higher low, it's a very objective way of defining an uptrend. Okay, so at least for a 1 hour point of view, this is going up. Okay, but of course, if you play around with multiple time frames, then it's a very different picture. Okay, so the 4 hour is telling you that yes, it's perhaps going up, but from a big picture point of view, you can still see that this is still potentially maybe a retracement, a correction, right? And then if you put this in here, maybe there's some resistance at this area. Okay, so many ways that you can approach the market. There's no like one best way. Okay, so we'll always stick to the system, the strategies that we personally use. Okay, so over here, if you ask me today, I'll be more keen to look for buy opportunity, but at this very same time, we are at the very top. Okay, there's no reason for us to get involved in a buy when the market is like intraday wise is like the highest point, right? There's no point on doing that, because what happens if market starts to retrace, you get trapped in that position. Okay, so one way to wait for this, I would suggest, I would personally do that of course as well, okay, is to wait for a retracement or a pullback. Okay, and of course, you can see there are some alignment between, or confluences between, the 61.8 Fibonacci with the L5 camarilla with the previous structure level here. But for price to actually come back down here, I think that's a little bit too early to project that, because from an intraday perspective, you need an 80 pip move, okay, which is way beyond the typical average daily range of Aussie dollar. Okay, so there's no need to rush into it. If price were to start reverse and come back down, do a correction, it probably gonna take like 2 to 3 days, okay, and it's not gonna happen today. Right, so with that, I think there's not much of a clear setup right now as well. Okay, I wouldn't want to force this in. I think one potential way to look at that is, of course, you can go to the 30-minute and look out for 618 over here. Okay, and of course, your stops would likely need to go below this low. Okay, definitely that's a valid setup. Okay, you do see some confluence here. You do see the L3 camarilla with the 61.8. I think that's a trade that's worth considering. Okay, yeah, let me make sure that's right. Okay, I think that's worth considering with a 30 pips of stops. I think you can target higher. Yeah, right. So I would be willing to take this risk, honestly. Okay, so I'll probably put this in. Okay, let me just roughly check very quickly where the target should go. All right. I think that's good. Okay, we'll be a little bit aggressive on this. Okay, we're gonna aim for H5 camarilla, which is 80 pips. Okay, let's see if yeah, let's just put our temporary target for now. Okay, tomorrow if it doesn't reach there, we'll update that accordingly. Okay, so let me do the screenshot as usual. Okay, so today is 9 of Feb. Right, I'll put this in. Okay, so let me remove all this, right? This is bullish. Okay, so we are having a potential buy limit. The price here is looking at 767, around that a little bit, 7679. Right, the stop is gonna go 7650. And the target today is 7760. Right, let me change that image. Okay, this should be clear. Okay, so let me put that in as well. Okay, stops is gonna go 7650. Target here is 776. Okay, so let me clear that off. Right, so that's how it looks like. Pretty decent risk to reward. Okay, for those of you who would like to consider on this trade as well. Next up is on Kiwi Dollar. Okay, so Kiwi Dollar over here, you can see on the 4-hour is obviously in the range. Okay, last week we talked about some potential harmonic patterns, right? I think it's still valid for sure. Okay, on 1-hour time frame, it's still basically in the range. It hasn't really break kind of like this high here. Yes, it break this mini top, okay, the internal high, but it hasn't really break this. Okay, so technically this is not as clean as the Aussie dollar. You can see, right? This trend here is pretty clear. This one here is not so much. You know, it's still basically more of like a sideways move. Okay, there is the potential pattern that we talk about, or I would say two patterns, right? Last week, if you have been following us, we talked about a potential butterfly plus a bigger godly pattern. Okay, completing somewhere around the 7280 or 7285. That's about 50 bits, which potentially can complete by today. Okay, the part here is, would you want to take that trade? Okay, because if you were to take that trade, oh, that's a lot of fibs. Okay, but basically the key confluence here is really this. Okay, so let me clear up the chart. Okay, the only thing here I'm not so keen is because if we are taking this trade here, we're looking to sell. Okay, you know, it's more like a bit of counter trend, understanding that if this week the dollar is going to be weakening, okay, then if you're selling the New Zealand dollar, you're actually buying the USD, right? So yeah, right, it's a valid trade, but I would say maybe I wouldn't rush into it. I wouldn't put the penning directly. Maybe if this goes up, you know, tomorrow or maybe Thursday when we come back in, and you know, we see a setup to sell, maybe we'll do that. Okay, but for today, I'm just gonna leave it. Okay, anyway, this is like higher time frame already. Okay, which is not what we really do over here. Okay, we want to keep it to like intraday, and for today, really nothing much. Okay, dollar CAD, this trade here is actually from last week, right? You can see we just tagged it in. So we are in this buy. I think the target for this last week, we were putting it somewhere up there. Okay, for today, I'm just going to adjust it to the H5, okay, which is the price level of 2785 area. Right? A quick recap on this is basically we are trading on the godly pattern. Okay, if you still recall, I say that this is not like the nicest godly, but it's still a valid godly. Okay, and over here, of course, on the 4-hour time frame, we are last week, right? From last week, we are looking for the buy from this move here. Okay, up, down, whoops. Okay, what's that? Okay, this move down, and then of course this move up, right? So we're looking for a buy opportunity. Okay, but of course this week here the dollar seems to be weakening. Okay, so this trade will just leave it, you know, because I have that pending since last week, right? So it tagged in, okay, this morning. Okay, so I'm just gonna let it see how it goes. Okay, so if you're not in, then there's no need to worry. You don't need to chase onto this trade. Okay, just leave it there. Okay, so for today, if you're not in, then I would suggest there's not really a good setup for this pair. Okay, again, it's in the range. You can see on the 1-hour time frame, when it's in the range, you want to look for harmonic patterns. Right now, there's no valid patterns except for the godly that we talk about, which is the buy trade. Okay, so you can see that my target, of course, I've shifted lower as well. So if today there's a kind of like a rebound, okay, I'll be happy to get off this trade here with that profit, whatever it is. Okay, so this is on dollar CAD. If you're not in, right, just leave it. I don't think there's any trade involved for the dollar CAD. Okay, next up is the dollar yen. Okay, this trade here was actually executed yesterday. Okay, but because Monday we don't really run live, I don't have the capacity to run it every day because Monday, you know, we run it with our internal students as well as Monday and Thursday I run webinars in the evening. So usually I don't do live on the trading dose on Monday and Friday. Hey, it's like a break day for me, right? But this trade here is actually executed yesterday. Again, I want you to see that why is it important to have that consistency if you're doing intraday? Because some days, if you don't put in the effort, or some days you just decide to take a break, right? That's where you find some winning trades that you miss out. Okay, so the smaller the time frame you go, the lower the time frame you go, right? Which means short-term trading, the more consistent you need to be. Okay, because things like this can happen, right? Monday you get a profitable trade. If you miss out on that, then you miss out on the profitable trade. And then what happens if, let's say, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, those are the losing day trades, and then Friday becomes a profitable trade, right? So you need to be consistent because you want to capitalize on all these opportunities as much as you can, right? To be consistent on the result. Okay, but it is what it is, right? Again, I don't have the capacity to come in every day like that. Okay, so we're still gonna be sticking to Tuesday and Thursday. But I really want to be giving you that, even with just 3 days a week. Okay, I want to give you the perspective of what intraday trading really is. Okay, but I'll share with you why I took this trade. Okay, and the stock has already been shifted to break even, right? So I'll share with you why I take this trade. For one very simple reason. Okay, if you take a look at this, I think if you've been following me sometime, you probably can already identify the setup, the strategy on this. Okay, first off, you do have a divergence. Okay, from this top. Why am I always taking the wrong two? Okay, from this top. Okay, so you can see price is moving a little bit higher, but your RSI is moving lower, right? So that's what we call a divergence. And basically yesterday price movement is that price was still above this neckline. Okay, so a very simple setup. You see a divergence is a potential reversal. You wait for price to break off that neckline. That's where you execute the trade, right? So you can see exactly my entry is just below this neckline, and then the target is just today's L5 level, right? Initially it was at the L4. Okay, which was yesterday camarilla level. Today I just shift it lower towards L5. Okay, so it's actually a very simple strategy. We are looking for, like, this is more or less considered like a counter trend. Okay, you have a double top, or a diagonal, whatever pattern you want to call it, but basically just recognize how it looks like, right? A double top, a divergence, you trade the break of the neckline. For the previous 2 weeks, right, we have been using this technique to trade on the pound dollar, and it has been pretty good. Okay, so for those of you who've been following some time, I think you probably have already acquired this strategy. Okay, so yeah, that's all for me on dollar yen. I think there's no new trade. Okay, this was actually a trade taken yesterday. So for today, really nothing much on it. Last one here that we are keeping a watch is on the gold. Okay, so on a 1 hour time frame, you can see that this is pretty much similar to euro dollar. We do have this kind of V-shaped formation. Okay, it's pushing up pretty strong. Okay, and naturally you want to be looking for a potential buy, at least for this week, right? In line with the dollar weakening. So if you ask me today, really nothing much. Okay, one way to, of course, take a look at this is very, very similar to the setup on Aussie dollar. More on the 30 minutes, okay, where you can pull your Fib from this structure low to this structure high. You do see some minor confluence at the 618, okay, pretty close to your L3. There's some minor structure over here. I'm not a fan of trading gold or commodities, at least for the short term, right? Because the volatility of it is way greater than your major pairs, okay? But it's a valid one, okay? So I'm just sharing with you why I'm not a fan of intraday commodities, because my style, while it's intraday, I tend to like just set the order here whenever I do this session with you guys, and then I leave it there until tomorrow morning, and then I just come back and check on it. Okay, so with that in mind, okay, I don't like trading the commodities, especially gold, because it's a bit more volatile. It can swing in my favor, and then I'm not there to monitor the trades, and it can just swing back down, and then from a perhaps very profitable trade, I can turn out into a losing trade, right? So I'm not, I don't really like that, because I don't have the time, or I don't put in the effort to go and monitor the chart every time. Okay, that's my style. Okay, so I'm in fact, I'm not someone who likes intraday. That's not my trading style. But I'm doing this to kind of like share with those of you who are more interested into intraday, right? To walk through this entire process with you. Okay, for those of you who know me for some time, I'm more towards the swing, right? Like 4-hour chart, daily chart, longer term investment. That's what I do. Okay, so I'm not a fan of intraday, but you know, the same principle of trading and strategy can still be applied, right? So Aussie dollar is still going up, but we just leave it there and see how it goes. Okay, so yeah, so for today, that's the only trade setup that we have. Okay, so yeah, so I hope, you know, it's clear throughout this entire process. I think we have been doing this. This would be the 4th week. Okay, I'll do my very best to keep this throughout the year. Okay, but I can't promise you guys anything because you know, depending on how busy I am, whether there's new projects, new campaigns going on, things like that, right? But for now, okay, I'll keep this going as long as I can. Okay, so I really hope it benefit those of you who would like to pick up intraday trading, at least for the short-term trading perspective. The trading dose hopefully will be able to help you guys on that. All right, so that's all for me today. Okay, have a great trading day ahead. Okay, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, same timing at 10 a.m. Right? If you guys have any questions, just feel free to drop it in the comments below this video. I'll do my very best to help you as well. Okay, so that's all for me, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.